Next, on the world's most amazing videos, helicopter hell rides, base jumping bash-ups, airplane catastrophes. It's terror in the sky.
Mayday, mayday.
First, an out-of-control news chopper is smashed to oblivion. Then, a skydiving collision tears a jumper's chute to shreds. Plus, a malfunction on the runway blows a jetliner sky high. And later, 2 daring divers plus 2 failed parachutes equals one hell of a hard landing. These are the incredible true life stories of people who faced their most desperate hour and lived to tell about it. Everything you are about to see is real. Real people, real danger, real excitement. Get ready to experience the thrill of a lifetime. You are about to witness the world's most amazing videos. Tonight, terror in the sky.
Brooklyn, New York. News helicopters converge at a crime scene. Airborne reporters are about to go live to their stations when suddenly one of the choppers blows a tail rotor. The pilot fights to steady the whirling death trap as it plummets toward residences. It's no use. The 3 men inside brace for impact. The helicopter slams through a concrete rooftop and breaks apart. Mortar and metal explode in all directions. The scene below switches from a crime investigation to a rescue. But then, an unbelievable sight. The pilot steps out of the cockpit, virtually unharmed. He motions for help, then ducks back in to free his passengers. They too come through with no major trauma. The widespread debris is testament to the raw brutality of the crash. Thankfully, today's top story didn't end with an obituary. Beach Wollongong, Australia. Skydiver Adrian Wildman Thuma has over 7,000 jumps to his name. But when you've been doing it this long, things don't always go as planned.
A parachute, you can pack it 1,000 times the same way, and roughly once every 1,000 it's going to malfunction.
Today, Wildman joins a student for a tandem jump. With his wrist cam rolling, the high-flying daredevils take the leap. In seconds, they're having the time of their lives. But death looms in the wings. The chute cables tangle at 5,000 feet, whipping them into a high-speed spiral.
I pulled down the opposite steering line to the way it was spinning to try and stop us. And that still didn't stop us, so we're still spinning hard.
The student thinks this is all part of the ride. He has no idea the peril he's in. At 4,000 feet, Wildman releases the chute and fires the reserve. It's his second malfunction in a row.
I had tension knots on my reserve, which caused the reserve to spin. That's when it became really serious.
The men hurtle toward the ground at 40 miles an hour.
My heart was racing as fast as it can. You spin like that and hit the ground, you know, it's fatal.
With 1,000 feet to go, the newbie realizes he may be experiencing his final seconds on Earth.
Okay. Together. Yeah. Sit up. Yeah. Sit up.
I told my passenger to brace for impact, so feet knees together and be ready for a hard landing.
Sit down. All right.
The men slam into a tree at a deadly clip. Wildman's passenger lets out a gut-wrenching scream. Crashing through the bow is painful, but it actually saves their lives. The branches break their horrific fall. The first-time flyer walks away unharmed. But the bone-crushing impact fractures Wildman's back. He's lucky to have survived a day when the odds were clearly against him.
Pretty much grateful to be alive would be my emotions at the time. I knew what had gone on, and at that time I haven't heard of anyone surviving a double malfunction like that.
Valletta, Malta. It's the first international Grand Prix air races ever held on the island nation. Single-engine speedsters duel their way around the low-altitude course at over 200 miles an hour. But heading into a turn, the two leaders knock each other out of the sky. The white plane sees a chance to pass low. He's unaware that his opponent's engine has stalled. The red plane slices through his tail section. The pilot has no chance to bail before he's swallowed by the sea. The other pilot ejects and parachutes into the water. He frees himself from the harness and swims to safety. The rescue boat reaches the first pilot, and he's taken to a nearby hospital. These flyers hit the skies hoping to capture a trophy. But the real prize was getting out alive.
Coming up, a thrill-hungry base jumper eats a smorgasbord of jagged rock. And a jet engine flameout ignites a runway firestorm. Then, a paraglider's wing becomes a cocoon of death. Next on the world's most amazing videos, Terror in the Sky. Back to the world's most amazing videos. Terror in the Sky.
Salt Lake City, Utah. Base jumpers take the plunge off 300-foot cliffs. It's been a picture-perfect day.
Ow!
But as Tyler Burrows gets set to go, he notices the wind picking up.
Up there's quite a bit of wind.
Is there?
Tyler gambles. And loses. The jump is doomed before Tyler even leaves the ledge. The swirling wind twists his canopy and drives him into the wall. He frantically kicks himself away from the rock face. But the biggest hit is still to come. Incredibly, the vicious impact only breaks Tyler's wrist.
That's the sickest looking wrist I've ever seen, dude.
I really walked away with that one with minimal injury for sure. We'd made jumps in conditions like that previously. Wasn't too worried about it. It made me a little uneasy. And as soon as the canopy opened, it spun me 180 degrees. I still have the picture of the wall ingrained in my vision or my brain, so to speak. As I came down, my wrist just happened to catch, 50% of my weight. On our way to the hospital is kind of when you sit down and say, that was intense. Glad we made it through that one with just a broken wrist.
As soon as he's healed, Tyler returns to the skies. A lucky survivor who won't make the same mistake again. Crimea, Ukraine. A military airliner carrying top naval officers speeds down the runway at 150 miles per hour. But a flash of smoke turns their takeoff into catastrophe. The pilot tries to abort and slams the brakes. But he can't hold the runway. And suddenly, the aircraft erupts into a 30-ton fireball. The trouble starts just before liftoff. Flames blast from a failing engine. There's no time to stop the hulking mass before it skids off the tarmac. Its fully loaded fuel tanks ignite. The control tower fears the passengers have all been consumed by the raging inferno. But then, a sign of hope. A man emerges from behind the blistering wall of fire. And then, more people. Soon, the trickle becomes a steady stream of survivors. By the time rescue crews reach the flaming wreck, all 20 passengers have made it out alive. The plane's gutted cabin shows just how lucky they were. although 3 officers suffer burns in the crash. They know it's a miracle that this short flight wasn't the last trip of their lives. Valle de Bravo, Mexico. The destination of choice for the world's most daring paragliders. Spiraling thermals give these adrenaline junkies the kind of rush they live for. And sometimes die for.
This is a dangerous sport. Down here in this region, every couple of years, somebody doesn't go home from their vacation.
Today, this paragliding heaven becomes one thrill seeker's hell. Tony Carlson is upended and instantly entombed in his canopy. Mike Chirico witnesses the horrifying plunge.
I'm watching him fall 2,000 feet to the ground, 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. His paraglider's just streaming like this with him inside. Obviously, no shot to throw his emergency reserve chute. I think he's dead.
Tony's friends hurry down the mountain, where they make an astonishing discovery. The paraglider is found alive with nothing more than a broken elbow. A closer look shows why.
His glider, just in the last moment, I think that 20% of the wing inflated. It slowed him down just before impact.
A year later, Tony returns to the scene.
I should have thrown my reserve straight away. That was my big mistake. Because I lost control and I was too close to the ground to try to fix it.
Despite the near-death experience, Tony's back, chasing the world's biggest thermals, even though it could cost him the ultimate price.
Still to come. A ball game comes under siege when a plane carves a 7th inning stretch of destruction. Plus, a birthday flight for Grandpa explodes into helicopter confetti. And later, free fall fanatics collide in a chute-thrashing aerial assault. When the world's most amazing videos, Terror in the Sky continues. Now, back to the world's most amazing videos, Terror in the Sky.
Anchorage, Alaska. Minor league baseball teams battle it out in a tight contest. But the game is about to be called because of an airplane in the outfield. Desperate to land his crippled craft, the pilot aims for the clearest spot in sight. A running track behind the ballpark. His left wing clips the fence. And the Cessna pinwheels into a pile of debris. Players run toward the wreck to check on the passengers. To their astonishment, they see signs of life. The pilot and all 3 passengers survive with only a few broken bones. And incredibly, everyone on the ground walks away without a scratch. It's a day no one will ever forget, when a plane ended this ball game with a Grand Slam. Heby, Sweden. For Carl Zetterlund's 100th birthday, his family has chartered a helicopter ride over the Swedish countryside. A local TV crew turns out to film the flight for a human interest piece. But once Carl is on board, their headline becomes a horror story. The pilot can't control the takeoff. In seconds, Grandpa is at the mercy of a mechanical maelstrom. The wayward chomper careens towards some cyclists and decapitates a street lamp. When the pilot attempts a wobbly touchdown, the metal beast flips over onto the grass. The blades snap off like shrapnel. Carl's family watches in horror. But then, the pilot appears. Bloody, he opens the passenger compartment and finds everyone on board alive. Witnesses pull Carl from the wreck, shocked that the elderly man has only minor injuries. Considering he's cheated death for 100 years, it'll take more than a helicopter crash to slow him down. DeLand, Florida. For professional skydiver Chris Caldwell, nothing beats the feeling of leaping from a plane at 13,000 feet. He's turned his passion for the sport into a business teaching amateurs. But today's lesson will forever change his life. Wearing a helmet cam, he joins a student on a jump. But just seconds in, the student starts falling too fast. Chris straightens into a headfirst dive to catch him. The move backfires. Chris's head slams into the man's chest. His neck snaps instantly. He's paralyzed at 8,500 feet. Chris hurtles toward the earth, his lifeless arms unable to open his chute. The skydiver is helpless, but wide awake for every terrifying second. Then, with only 750 feet to go, Chris's emergency chute automatically deploys. But with his arms and legs limp, the impact could still prove devastating. Voices cut through the cloudy haze.
Chris, can you hear me?
Help me.
Can you hear me?
On the way. On the way.
Can you hear me?
Help me. Help me.
Okay,
Please help me.
be still. We got
Please
help
help
on
me.
the way.
Please help me.
Yeah.
Please help me. Please help me.
Hey.
I don't remember anything after that. The last thing I saw was the concrete on the runway. After that, I don't remember anything for about 5 weeks. I remember my student, he got below me. I tried to speed up to catch him and lost sight of him. And pretty much the top of my head hit him in the ribs. When I finally realized, probably after about 15 seconds, that there was nothing I could do to save myself, I just waited. In my mind, I was gonna hit the ground, and that was gonna be the end of it.
In the hospital, Chris learns he is paralyzed from the chest down. But true to his nature, he hasn't let his physical constraints hold him back.
I was always an unstoppable person. I didn't have any regrets. I was okay with what was happening.
His days of skydiving may be over, but he uses his story to educate others, helping keep the skies a safer place.
Just ahead, a stunt pilot's mid-air stall sends him nosediving toward disaster. Then, on a day for honoring the dead, a paratrooper takes a killer fall. Plus, a mysterious engine failure leaves a jumbo jet scorching the skies.
Mayday, mayday, mayday.
That's straight ahead on the world's most amazing videos, Terror in the Sky. Now, back to the world's most amazing videos, Terror in the Sky.
Cordoba, Argentina. Aerial acrobats perform for a crowd of thousands at this annual air show. And when it comes to defying gravity with style, pilot Cesar Falistoco is among the best of the best. For his next feat, Cesar will demonstrate how to pull out of a low-altitude stall. He climbs to several hundred feet. But there's trouble. Plummeting toward the tarmac, Cesar can't restart his engine. The plane slams into the ground and bursts into flames. Bystanders rush toward the burning wreck. But then, an amazing sight. Cesar walks away from the crash, unscathed. His last-ditch effort to land the plane on its belly paid off. He escaped, just before it's engulfed in fire. The pilot waves to an astounded crowd. He was hoping to impress with his daredevil maneuvers. But his slickest move was dodging death. Ankara, Turkey. It's Victory Day, a celebration of the nation's independence. Thousands have turned out for a massive parade, honoring the soldiers who gave their lives for their country. High above the streets, a formation of paratroopers descends from the sky. But as the crowd watches, the high-flying spectacle suddenly takes a horrific turn. A mid-air collision partially inverts one skydiver's chute. There's no time for him to pull his reserve. The other parachutist has a rough landing on the grass nearby. But thankfully, he's unhurt. The parade grinds to a halt, while spectators wait for word on the first man. Incredibly, he suffers only a broken leg. A huge relief for the supportive crowd. On a day for honoring the dead, they can celebrate one soldier who survived. Manchester Airport, England. Terror at liftoff.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. Engine failure, Thompson 253 Hotel.
Just when this plane is becoming airborne, one of its thrusters starts belching fire, forcing an immediate shutdown of the right engine.
Mayday, mayday.
With 221 passengers' lives hanging in the balance, air traffic control gives the all clear for an emergency landing.
Mayday 262, all runways available. Advise me if you...
As the plane circles, workers on the ground make a startling discovery.
It looks like it may have been a burst, right? There was bird debris on the runway as well.
While the airliner was taking off, so was a 4-foot-tall heron. But their flight paths intersected, and the massive bird was sucked into the engine. Thankfully, the jet lands safely. And the only casualty is the wayward fowl. It was the most minor of aerial collisions, but it nearly caused a major disaster.
Mayday, mayday. Engine failure.
Up next, a base jumper's nightmarish tangle ends with a treetop thrashing. And it's a bolt from the blue when a plane careens toward freeway traffic.
The engine failure, he's landing Highway 41.
When the world's most amazing videos, Terror in the Sky returns. Now, back to the world's most amazing videos. Terror in the Sky.
Fond du Lac County, Wisconsin. State Trooper Luke Newman's cruiser camera often captures traffic flying by. But never like this.
The engine failure, he's landing Highway 41.
We didn't hear the plane coming. The propeller wasn't turning, the engine wasn't making any noise. It just basically glided over us.
Commuters are stunned to see a World War II trainer suddenly passing them in the slow lane.
My first thought was that it was going to crash on the highway and we were going to have a big mess.
But the pilot successfully dodges traffic and coasts to a safe stop. Newman reaches the plane and is surprised at how relaxed the two occupants are.
Once the pilot and passenger exited the vehicle, they were very cool, calm, and collected. They weren't, kissing the ground like we made it, like I would be.
For Trooper Newman, this is one frightening traffic stop that definitely came out of the blue.
The engine failure, he's landing Highway 41.
Interlaken, Switzerland. Kenyon Salo and his friends have come from Australia to experience base jumping in the Swiss Alps. Kenyon's wife, Jill, is the first to launch.
Sick.
She even shows off with a backflip.
That's
my woman.
Their buddy Jeremy makes it 2 for 2 with another perfect jump.
Sweet! God, he pulls early. See you in a minute.
But the streak is about to end.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.
Kenyon chute twists in the wind. He's coming in way too fast.
We saw him open and immediately his canopy didn't look good. It looked to us as if he had crashed into the cliff maybe more than once, and so we didn't know if he was alive or dead or if he had broken bones. We really expected the worst.
Jill frantically calls her husband.
Jill. I'm all right. Everything's fine. I'm in a tree.
I think that when I crashed through the trees and I ended up being okay, it was a nervous laugh, nervous excitement, like, whew, I made it.
The harrowing ordeal nearly cost Kenyon everything. But as fast as he can pack a chute, he's back to the sport he loves.
Yeah, buddy, that was rad.
Some people say, oh, you must have a death wish. It's the other way around. That's a life wish, because you experience something that people just can't even comprehend.
This time, the best part of the experience was just surviving.
Coming up, a skydiver's deadly maneuver causes a parachute pileup. That's next on the world's most amazing videos, Terror in the Sky. Now, back to the world's most amazing videos, Terror in the Sky.
Quincy, Illinois. 5,000 participants turn out for the World Freefall Convention, the Super Bowl of skydiving. This annual event attracts some of the most highly skilled jumping enthusiasts from around the globe. But as 30-year pro Finley McCool is about to learn, not everyone knows what they're doing. The woman in front of McCool is a relative novice, and she's going to put his life in mortal danger. The group has deployed their chutes when suddenly she heads right for him.
You mother...
At an altitude of 900 feet, the woman unexpectedly barrels toward McCool and rams him. She becomes tangled in his canopy. When she tears free, she leaves a gaping hole behind. Facing certain death, McCool has only seconds to cut his chute loose and trigger his reserve. Thanks to his swift action, he touches down without injury. But he's floored by the most bizarre accident of his long career.
Who the was that? Mother went right through my parachute. Coming down just now. I did about an 800-foot cutaway.
I had no idea what hit me. I looked up, and all I could see was her legs kicking through my parachute. And I said, you got to be kidding me. I knew if I had any chance at all that I had to go for my reserve and just hope and pray.
McCool knows the only reason he walked away from the incident was because of his many years of experience. If only everyone he jumped with had the same.
I thank God every day that I'm alive. I might have thanked him twice that day.
Who the was that?
From pilots pushing the envelope to daredevils pushing their luck, the thrill of flight could cost the ultimate price. But for adrenaline hounds, stuntmen, and professionals alike, the rush is worth the risk of terror in the sky. Join us next time for more of the world's most amazing videos.